I stand and speak to protect other women. My name is Libby Rich. I'm a native of Alabama. I'm 69 years old, and I am a victim of Alabama's restrictive abortion law. Many years ago, I testified in front of the Alabama Senate legislature about what happened to me when I obtained an illegal abortion. When Roe v. Wade was passed, I celebrated along with millions of other women, thinking that never again would a woman experience what I experienced. When the legislature passed the law to try and strip us of our rights, I will never stay silent about that, ever. I was 19 years old, was on the birth control pill, but I got pregnant anyway, and you could have a therapeutic abortion in Alabama. You would go through UAB hospital and be interviewed by a panel of doctors who happen to be all white, all male. They'd ask you a series of questions and determine whether or not you were eligible.
What was the criteria?
Whatever the doctors decided. They told me that I was not eligible because I was young, I was healthy. It would not irrevocably destroy my life, as I could give the child that I would have out of wedlock up for adoption and then continue on with my life. That was not acceptable to me, so I went underground, UAB, and found out that there were ways to obtain an abortion that were illegal. So I found a woman who would perform the abortion for $300. I went to her house, did as she instructed. I removed my jeans and underwear and shoes and got on her kitchen table and spread my legs and watched as she inserted a plastic tube that had been boiling in a pot of water on the stove. And she inserted it into my uterus, told me to get dressed, to take a long walk, that when I would start bleeding, to go home and I would abort. I aborted into the toilet. She was right. I didn't know enough to ask about antibiotics. Of course, she didn't have any. They were never mentioned. The aftercare was just, who knew? The next day I was delirious with a high fever, and a woman from work called, and I told her what I'd done, and she came to get me and dropped me off at UAB's emergency room, and she left. I did not want her complicit in the event that I was arrested.
Because at that time it was illegal, and a woman who got an abortion
would be prosecuted. She would be arrested. I did not tell the doctors who attended me what I had done. I lied and said I'd kept a Tampax in too long. And they said, "We know what you've done. We're gonna call the police." As they pressed down on my stomach time and again, causing tremendous amounts of pain. They showed no mercy. I woke up 2 days later, and the doctors standing over me said, "Well, why don't you just admit that you had an illegal abortion?" I kept my mouth shut, didn't say a word. They said, "Well, let me tell you this. Because of the amount of infection, your uterus is probably so scarred that you'll never be able to get pregnant again." And that turned out to be true.
I'm sorry.
For weeks afterwards, I was terrified that the police were going to come to work and that everybody would know. And finally, that fear ebbed away. And life went back to being normal. And then Roe v. Wade, and I spoke out. You know, with me, it's not a matter of choice. I stand and speak to protect other women. We talk about abortion freely. Most of us. We can say the word. Back then, it just wasn't done. I mean, the thought of a woman standing there testifying to an illegal abortion, oh my God. I was terrified. But not enough to keep my silence.
So what happened after you spoke at the Senate?
Like most times, I'm pretty much a loner. I drove down to Montgomery by myself, and I got in my car and drove back by myself. Afraid, of course, of the repercussions, you know, what it was going to cost me.
Well, what were the repercussions?
That I was flooded with letters of gratitude from women all over the state. My women came to my store and hugged me and cried. And there were women who came and, you know, harassed me, insulted me, said terrible things to me, yada, yada, yada. But what was so wonderful was the outpouring of support. It is with huge amount of regret that I'm sitting here. It is with endless rage that has no depth or breadth that this is going on.
What would your life be like if you were able to obtain a legal abortion?
Oh, gee, I'd never thought of that. I don't know how to respond to that question. It has been part of my life for so long, I can't imagine that I wouldn't be as angry. I imagine that I would not be as afraid. I don't imagine it would ever shut me up. Speaking for a woman's right to choice. That my life would have been calmer, more secure. I can't tell you what that illegal abortion did to me, except it marked deep scars in my body and in my soul.
Why do you think it's important to talk now?
Roe v. Wade cannot be overturned. I call on everyone to stop this movement. If you can't speak about your abortion, speak to defend another woman's right. I am more than a uterus. I am a living, breathing human being with inalienable rights. Me, a living, breathing human being. You see that anger? I hope you also see that deep-seated fear.